What's up, guys? It's Z Breaks here, and today I have Source Podcast and Dot Bets. We're gonna roll out a new little thing that we're really all excited about, and it's going to be a daily MLB show. We're gonna try to get these live. That way, we could just get on stream, talk to y'all, interact with y'all, all while giving out free plays. Um, but for this, of course, episode, we haven't been approved for live features yet on YouTube. So for that purpose, we're just gonna go with pre-recorded show. So we won't get to interact with y'all as much, but hopefully in the future we will be able to. The show will be fairly simple. We're gonna each pick maybe one or two play or games a day. We're gonna talk about them and we're gonna give out plays for them. And so, over the long run, you should be able to see anywhere from between 3 to 6 plays. And hopefully that turns into a ton of profits for y'all in the long run. This is halfway through the MLB season, so we should be on our game. We should be in mid-season form. So we'll just see how it goes. Dot, do you want to go and start off with your first game?
Yeah. So my first game that I'm going to go after, it was going to be the A's, but I think we kind of nixed the A's without being live. So if anybody does watch this before the A's get off, so go ahead and throw that in there. That's just the money line. I'm on as well. But the game that I'll give out on this stream here, we're going to do Cardinals Pirates over 9.
Okay.
And little stats to back it up. Just because Carlos Martinez is starting doesn't always mean it's going to be over, but it's hit in 5 of his last 7 starts. And he only had that one really, really good game at Wrigley Field against, I think it was him and Hendricks had a little pitcher's duel, which was
on Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah, it was the oddball. It was I don't know where it came from. But he's 3-8 on the year with a 6.62 ERA. His night game split his night game ERA is an 8.54 ERA. So all the stats on Martinez's side point towards an over. And then I think it's Chad Kuhl who's pitching for the Pirates. His has actually hit 7 of 8 times in his starts this year. He's got an opponent OBP of 410. So I mean, both pitchers are going to get shelled in this game. I know they're 2 struggling offenses, especially the Cardinals. They have very, very bad as of late. They got too much talent on their team to slow them down for too long. So I like the over 9 in this game.
Okay.
I like that pick a lot, Dot. I looked at it. I mentioned it to you off the air. Carlos Martinez's defense doesn't show up for him. He pitches too slowly. They commit 3 times more errors for him than they do for, say, Adam Wainwright is the exact stat. The Pirates are a disgrace to Major League Baseball at this point in the season. So the only thing that I could see stopping this over from hitting is if suddenly Carlos Martinez's defense shows up and the Cardinals just for some reason don't show up offensively. It's possible, but I like this over as well. I'm tailing this pick.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Source, you want to go with your first game?
Sure. So I won't do this very often for the listeners or anybody watching. Very rarely will I give out a minus 190. But the play that I'm giving out was minus 160 last night when I placed it, and when I sent it to this chat. So I'm going to give it out anyway. That's the Toronto Blue Jays. Right now it's minus 190 against the Baltimore Orioles. I would play that to 194, which sounds like I'm nitpicking, but I was nitpicking it. I would have played it to 194 even when it was at 160. So I thought there was a huge edge there when I placed it last night. And this is simple. Neither one of these teams can pitch, but the Orioles really can't hit anybody. They faced some really good pitching in the Astros recently, so people say, oh, it's just because it's the Astros and they're really good. Like, no. Baltimore is 17 games out of first place in the American League East for a reason. The only players that ever show up on their team are Cedric Mullins, maybe Ryan Mountcastle, and that's usually about it. For me, this is a no-brainer. Toronto's going to win this game, probably 6-0, maybe 7-1. The only reason I don't also take minus 1.5 is Toronto could easily walk 6 straight batters at any given point. So that makes me nervous going into the bullpen.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. I like that play a lot.
Yeah, I do too as well. And I like that it's a big favorite. I actually, everybody knows I like to play big favorites or big dogs. There's no really in between. But the thing I like about big favorites, or one thing I want to mention, not like, but one thing I want to mention is that in the last 3 days, I've seen, I've played money lines on big favorites, and each one of those money lines has covered, but the -1.5 hasn't. So one
It's
thing
happened
to
a
the
lot this
viewers,
season.
Yep.
yeah, and the one thing to the viewers I want to make note of, a money line doesn't indicate a team's ability to blow out an opponent. A -300 money line means that they will win 3 out of 4 times. How much they win by is not indicated by the money line at all. So a lot of cappers, a lot of people on Twitter, even sports bettors just in general, will look at a big money line and say, "Oh, this should be a blowout, so let me just play the -1.5." That's not quite always the case. Just because a team wins 3 out of 4 times doesn't mean they have to win each one of those games by more than 2 runs. So keep that in mind whenever you're discerning between a money line or a run line play, especially if the money line's like -230, which we saw, I believe, a couple days ago. I forget who I took. It was -235, and then the run line was -135, and it was a clear indication. I mean, 100-point drop was a clear indication that they would win by one. They won by one. So every now and then you might be even able to find wow, you might even be able to find a couple of those um, you know exact to win odds at one, being +1,000, and get those tickets in. So just take a look out for that and stuff. But my first play is going to actually go against everything I just said right now, and it's going to be the Astros. I know they're at -230, and I kind of like the money line here, but I'm going to take the -1.5 here. I'm a line watcher, so I'm not going to have as many stats as Source or Dot. I like to watch lines. I like to see line movements, anything that, for me, it's simple. If I can get a peek or a slight understanding at what Vegas is thinking with their lines, I can find a play off of it. And for me, I mean, just the Astros, first of all, have just been killing it. They've hit this little upswing, which I'm happy for them for. They have, in their last 5 games, put up 7 runs, 8 runs, 10 runs, 3 runs, and then 13 runs. In a lot of these games, they essentially hit the over by themselves. I think they're going to continue their batting. I think they're going to continue to bring their bats. The Tigers aren't that great of a team to begin with. I think they're going to allow quite a bit of runs. You could even look at the over here. Potentially, the Astros might just hit the over by themselves. But the play I like in this situation, and it's a 2-unit play. I have 2 trends that agree with it. Is Astros -1.5, I believe -150, so 3 units to win 2 units. Let's circle back around. Dot, you got what's your second play or second game?
Well, I'm gonna add on to your Astros. Are they banging trash cans again? Do you think that's why they're scoring runs?
Maybe. I don't care as long as it's cashing my tickets. I'm not.
It's because they've been playing the Orioles, right? The auto fade team in Major League Baseball. True. I think Detroit's also one of those.
Yeah, but they played the White Sox too, and they got 7 and 8 runs against them on the 19th and the 20th. And then they haven't had a break, which does concern me because now it's like 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Like they haven't had a break, which is that's usual. But I mean they've just been. The Orioles. Everybody expects them to rain on the Orioles, but I mean they play pretty well against the White Sox too.
They've been playing pretty well against everybody. I'm riding that money line. I took it at -225, 2.25 units to win 1. I gave that out on Twitter earlier today.
Right.
Dot, what's your second play? Do you have a second play?
Well, my second play was going to be the A's. So if I needed to take a different play, I would have said the Twins. But I know you are against me there, Source. So very hesitant.
Well, let's talk about it. Why would you take the Twins, and why would Source get away from it? I want to hear the thoughts.
I want to hear Source's thoughts on.
Okay.
Sure. So
that's his big play of the day. So I'm
wait, really?
My max play is a +170 today. So I'm doing the exact opposite of what I did with my first 2 plays. For me, this comes down to 2 things. First, Jose Berrios is a great pitcher, right? We know that.
Right.
But we haven't seen him pitch since the new rules came into effect regarding sticky substances.
Right.
He is one of very few pitchers in the big leagues who's increased his spin rate every season of the last 4. So he's spinning the ball more and more every time. And as we know, that's the indication of sticky substances. People we have seen pitch without the sticky tack or the sunscreen and rosin, whatever it happens to be that they're using, since then have posted a 5.85 ERA since Monday.
Wow.
Jose Berrios throws his curveball 29% of the time. As his strikeout pitch, it's only thrown for strike 43% of the time, and it's swung at 55% of the time. So to me, if he doesn't have that curveball, or if that curveball is flat, he's going to get shelled. And so this is me taking a bet on the fact that if you're increasing your spin rate, after your 3rd season in the big leagues, you get to the big leagues, you play 3 seasons, it's similar. And then 2017 through now, it's increased every season. You're probably using a little something to enhance your grip versus just becoming an elite pitcher. So that is why I lean Indians here. And then when I look at the fact that Cleveland has actually been playing somewhat well of late, even though they haven't been getting wins. As I look at it right now, Cleveland is 6-4 in their last 10. They're 40-31, which no one really expected from them at this point in the year, especially, they have a $35 million payroll. So they're going to get huge dog numbers. And they've been winning, putting up a lot of runs and pitching very well. Even with, the ERA that's on the mound today at 6.3, I still think they win this game.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that stat about the pitchers without the stat. That's a pretty damn.
Where do you even find that?
Quality stat right there.
That was great research right there.
Baseball Savant has a lot of it. I track it for another show that I'm on. Mostly because I was watching last night's Red Sox game, which, as you both know, was a big play from me for a parlay last night. And Garrett Richards, who's a big curveball guy, he also throws his curveball 20% plus of the time. He went 1 2/3 and gave up 6 earned runs before they had to pull him. And it's because, and he came out and said, it's because I can't feel a baseball. And a lot of guys have said that.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah,
that is a great stat that you pulled up. I like that.
I used to pitch in college and play a little indie ball here and there, and I never had to use too much substance just because, for whatever reason, I could just grip the ball pretty well. But I knew so many people that did, and if they took that away, they would be such a shit pitcher. Like they wouldn't know how to pitch, and that's what came with a lot of these guys. Especially, that stat is great, but just with a lot of just the feel that you're going through with all of this, it's definitely changing. And I don't know what the increase in overs has been. I don't know if you guys have any stats on that.
I was tracking it for the first 3 days, and then Vegas really adjusted. The first 3 days went 13-2, 10-4, 11-3 that I saw. And then after that, Vegas really adjusted, and a lot of unders have hit in the last couple of days because they've moved it from lines that would normally be 7 are now 8.5. There's been some really big hooks, which has been frustrating. But if it was up to me, I think the guy that I'm watching is actually on the Baltimore Orioles. That's Mickey Yannis. He's the guy that next time he pitches, he pitched yesterday, and they lost. The next time he pitches, that will most likely be a play from me, and maybe even a max play, because he's a knuckleballer, and they rely on the opposite. They don't need any spin rate to generate their pitching. Yep. And if the guys can't hit, no one can hit a knuckleball anymore because he's the only knuckleballer now in the big leagues. He's only been called up last week. Wow. So very big unknown. I'm excited to see how that goes down.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm going to take a look at that too whenever you're about it. You let me know.
I will indeed.
Yeah, so my second play comes out of the Cubs-Dodgers game. People are low on the Dodgers, especially after this Padres sweep. The Padres swept, right? Yeah. So, the people are low on the Dodgers, but even beyond that, it's still the Dodgers and it's still the Cubs the Cubs have been decent, but they're still not to the level of Dodgers. Again, I like the money line play in this position just because of the money line movement, but I'm going to take the -1.5 here too, going against what I said earlier once again. But that's because I do have a trend on it, and there is quite a bit of money in bet percentages. There's quite a bit differential coming in on the -1.5. I like that, and we've moved up a little bit on the odds on the -1.5. So not only do I have a trend on it, but we're also seeing a lot of Vegas action coming in on the Dodgers, which is a good indication nonetheless to be able to be confident in it. And so my next play is Dodgers -1.5. I don't know what the odds are. Hold up.
They're -240 at the moment is what I'm looking at.
Well,
Zim,
for the
quick
-1.5,
question.
it's
Oh, for -1.5. I have
It's just for 1 unit.
-125. Yeah, I have -125.
Yeah, so,
Zim, quick question. Would you like the over in this game? Or are you
no,
staying away from that?
I don't have a play on the total in this game whatsoever. Just simply because I mean I know the total is 8.5. I don't know where the Dodgers heads at. Like I don't know if they're gonna try to up their pit. I mean, obviously in the locker room there's conversations going on. I don't know if they're blaming the pitchers or the batters, and whoever they're blaming is gonna come out and go off. So if it's the batters, you can easily expect the over, but if it's the pitchers, then you can easily expect the under. Because the Cubs can't hit to begin with, and not as well. And then against a Dodgers, pitching squad who's going to have a chip on their shoulder, they definitely won't hit. The Dodgers might get up a few runs, and if they're both if people are going off on both of them, the pitchers and the batters, then you could still expect the over. But I mean, if the pitchers are the people who are being blamed for it, then for the Padres sweep, then you could easily expect the under. On the contrary, if it's the batters that are being blamed, you can probably expect the over. I guess I would lean the over because if both of them are being blamed, then you're going to see your pitchers come in and shut out the Cubs probably, but you're also going to see your batters come out and make it rain on the Cubs, and they might hit the over just by the Dodgers playing well. So I would lean the over, but I wouldn't. I would just stay away. There's never a reason to force a play. So in this game, I would just kind of stay away. But do you have something on it? I also, by the way, I also don't like the fact that Davies is pitching here because I just think he gives up too many overs. I don't know the exact number on that.
So that was my thinking. Davies for me is generally an over pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
And Walker Buehler, another big spin rate guy. This is going to be a trend for me for the next probably 2 to 3 weeks until things adjust. I'm going to be watching the spin rates, and until we understand how this affects pitchers, I'm going to be watching it, and I'm going to take into account these guys aren't different pitchers. In some cases, that means looking at their numbers, 2-3 years ago, even, who were they consistently? So if that's Garrett Cole, my example would be Garrett Cole, right? Before he went to the Astros and he was a Pirates pitcher, he had a 3.5 career ERA. And since going to Houston, where supposedly the sticky substances became part of his routine, he pitches to about a 2.6.
Wow.
So to me, somewhere in the middle is probably where he is as a pitcher. And so, there's always an edge to be had there in games like that. So to me, I lean the over. I don't have a play on it officially, but I lean the over in that game.
Right. I mean, Davies, Buehler with his spin being affected. I kind of like the over, but I mean, not enough to have a play on it. But somebody likes it. Or somebody's watching the game and they don't want to take Dodgers -1.5. Feel free to take the over. Dot, you got any last thing or?
Just a little bit of strategy that I don't know how you guys go about MLB. I like to pick on certain pitchers every single time that they're in the rotation. So like my big three right now that I got screwed on last night was Fulte for the Rangers. He's a guy
always
I love to go against through like 2.5 units down on the A's money line, and then A's team total, and then the A's leave 8 guys on base.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was watching that game. I didn't understand it whatsoever.
So stuff like that
is much better than that.
I think you stick to your process more than what sometimes results, and that your process follows, unless you're Joel Embiid.
True enough.
But
yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I think it's Ben Simmons that was the problem there. But
Fulte was a guy, and then Happ is a guy for me, and then who's the other guy? It's Happ, Fulte. Oh, Harvey.
Harvey, yes, you mentioned Harvey to me.
Yeah, those 3 guys.
You said you just love fading them.
You can't not fade Matt Harvey. I mean, I agree with that
I might
wholeheartedly.
have to get on this because I remember you said to fade Harvey, and I just asked you if it was easy money, and you were like, "Oh boy, don't you know?"
Exactly. Oh yeah.
So I think I got to get on that. But yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Again, in the future, we're gonna have it live so we can interact with y'all. One of the great questions that Source just asked was like, how do I feel about the over? And we had a conversation about that. Those are opportunities for y'all in the future where y'all will be able to tune into our live chat box and, maybe just ask, how do you feel about the over in a specific game or under in a specific game? So we're going to try to get the live up as soon as possible. That way we have an interactive show rather than just kind of sit down and, let out show. And hopefully, you can use these plays to your benefit. And yeah, good luck to y'all, and thanks for watching.
Yeah, right.